In today's video, I wanted to continue with and finish up my journey through Fable Anniversary. Last time, I fought my way through Twin Blade's bandit camp and found my sister, Teresa. After that, I met with Maze. He asked me to locate his friend, the archaeologist. In doing so, the archaeologist mentioned something about focus sites. Apparently, an old hero named Jack of Blades is interested in them. After that whole ordeal, I was sent to Knothole Glade. There, I helped the town deal with a white balverine. As a reward and a symbol of my triumph, I was then given permission to fight in the arena. After 8 grueling rounds and a fight with Whisper, I emerged victorious. Afterwards, I met with Jack of Blades, and he informed me that my mother was still alive. Shocked at the news, I sought out Teresa. It was there that she told me this was all Jack's doing. He led the bandit raid on our home all those years ago. He had cut out Teresa's eyes and kidnapped her mother. From there, I was sent after the archaeologist one more time, as Jack's minions had gotten a hold of him. Battling my way through the war dogs and dreadwings, I managed to rescue the captive. The archaeologist revealed that the only way to Bargate prison, my mother's holding area, is through Lichfield Graveyard. This is where the story continues. After acquiring some upgrades, I quickly traveled to Oakvale. While looking for some consumables, I ended up running into Whisper. Speaking with her, she told me that she was leaving the guild. She couldn't live up to her brother's expectations and wants to go down a different path in life. As we say our farewells, I think to myself, this is probably Lionhead's way of writing her out of the story. After sparing Whisper in the arena, her character becomes purposeless. Half the crowd probably chose to execute her, while the other half gets to say a proper goodbye. One's an early end to a hero's story, while the other is simply an early retirement. Now it was back to the task at hand. Crossing through Gibbet Woods, I battled against various forms of undead. No doubt a foreshadow of things to come. After a quick walk through Headsman's Hill, I found myself in Lichfield. This officially began the quest, the Graveyard Path. Running over to the nearby gate, I saw that it was locked. Some of the NPCs mentioned that the Gravekeeper might be able to let me through. Heading over to his hut, I overheard a conversation between him and some shady fellow.
You have a whole set? That must be worth a bleeding fortune.
Yeah, I smashed open the crypt and it was all just lying there.
You'd better hide it to make sure no one else steals it.
Don't worry, I've got it stashed all over the yard. No one's going to find it. Not even them undead what's wandering around. Only thing I didn't manage to hide before they turned up was the helmet. It'll be alright here for now, and I'm keeping them gates locked till I can sell the lot.
Shh! What was that? Someone's out there. I better go.
Yes. Get out of my house, you bloody peasant.
Alright, I'm leaving. I just needed somewhere to sleep.
Oh, hello. Guild business, is it, eh? You want to go through them old kingdom gates? I tell you, they ain't been opened for generations. They say that only Nostro the gatekeeper could open them. But old Nostro died a couple of 100 years ago, and now the secret's buried with him in his crypt. I suppose you'll be wanting access to the graveyard. Well, let's go. Nostro's crypt is on the far side of the graveyard, over the river and up the hill.
Oddly enough, the Gravekeeper insisted on following me through the yard. Even though he didn't have a health bar, I knew he'd be in for a dangerous ride. Walking on through, the undead started to rise from their graves. Their opening animation had them swinging their weapons, which often allowed for a free cheap shot. It took me a little bit to understand their mechanic. Their spawn rates felt endless. I could slash my way through an entire crowd to only have another take its place. If I didn't keep moving forward, I'd still have been on that section to this very day. It's an excellent way to farm XP, but at some point you have to draw the line. Unfortunately, the Gravekeeper didn't last all that long out here. His death was what ushered me along. Rushing past the various undead, I wandered into Nostro's crypt and interacted with his coffin.
My armor, my helmet, my sword, and my shield. Gather for me in the path I shall yield. The sword can be found beneath the ground. If you are brave, try the hornet grave.
From here, the objective is rather simple. The 4 pieces of Nostro's gear are scattered around the graveyard. Some are easy to obtain, while others require some sort of vice. Near Nostro's grave is another crypt. Going on inside and interacting with that coffin, I was able to locate the hero's armor. The next piece, the shield, was at the bottom of the nearby creek. Finding a fishing rod in one of the chests, I went through Fable's fishing minigame and managed to secure it. Important to note too is that during this scavenger hunt portion, the spawn rates of the undead were massively decreased. By each armor piece, I would have to fight a chieftain undead. Honestly though, I'd take one of those over an infinite number of standard baddies. The next gear piece was Nostro's sword. Through locating a spade in one of the nearby chests, I dug in one of the lots and managed to recover the blade. Leaving the easiest for last, I ran back to the gravekeeper's hut and snagged the helmet off of his shelf. With all 4 items in my inventory, I returned to Nostro's coffin and placed them with his remains.
My armor, my helmet, my sword, and my shield. You gathered for me, so the path I shall yield.
So, you helped the Old One recover his armor. I'll let you through then. Be careful though. I don't want your finger marks all over me.
After the demon door, I was brought to the old graveyard path. The mechanic here was similar to the last area. The undead's numbers were simply too vast. If I really wanted to, I could have spent all day there. I tried my best to create the perfect balance. Farm enough XP and loot, while also retaining my consumables and time. The end of the path brought me to an undead general, the toughest variation of this enemy. It hit hard and had plenty of health. Luckily, its swings were slow, and the right moves were able to keep it at bay. After defeating it in battle, the next area opened up, and it was on to the circle of undead. I know a boss/special fight area when I see one. Stepping foot inside the circle, a group of standard undead enemies spawned in. While outside of the circle, their bodies turned into spirits, meaning I couldn't target them. However, once inside the circle, they could easily be vanquished. Every time one of them died, a sigil on the outer ring of the circle would light up. After all 10 were activated, 3 chieftain undead spawned in. It was a slower and more meticulous fight, but as soon as all 3 of them were defeated, the secret pathway to Bargate prison had opened up. Entering the underground chamber, the next quest, Rescue Scarlet Robe, had officially begun. This was quite the strange area. It took me no time at all to pass through, but the walls were damaged and there was a massive pool of water at its center. No matter though, as the preceding areas were more concerning. The underground tunnel had me facing off against more undead. Although what's nice was that their numbers were more finite. They'd spawn in here and there, and I even had to fight for my survival a couple of times, but it was certainly a lot more manageable. The pathway through the tunnel led me to a cliffside path. For the most part, the main enemy here was an undead general. Every time I defeat it, another would spawn in and continue the fight. Eventually though, I made it to the end and had to battle in yet another enclosed space. 5 chieftain undead rose from the ground, and I wasn't leaving until all of them were beaten. Nothing too complicated though, as they're slow attackers and can be bested somewhat easily. Once the next pathway was opened up, I was on to the underground passage. It was here that things got switched up. Instead of undead, I was now facing the Bargate prison guards. I found them to be a lot trickier than the walking piles of bones. To me, their attacks were a lot less predictable and they took more swings to bring down. As soon as I created any distance, they'd switch over to their crossbows and let off flurries of bolts. In groups, they were difficult to manage. Eventually, I made it to the final room of the underground passage. Battling through a few more waves of guards, smashing open crates and looting containers, I soon stumbled into the torture chamber.
I told you. Touch me again, and I'll wring your neck. Wait. I know you. No, it's a trick. You're not my son. The bastard's playing with my head. But it really is you, isn't it? What the hell were you thinking coming here? Don't you see he'll take us both? Never mind. We've got to get out of here. Get this damn cage open.
Not quite the reunion I expected, but time isn't exactly on our side either. Freeing my mother from her cell, we began to backtrack through the passage. It seems in those few moments of speaking to Scarlet Robe, a fresh garrison of guards took back control of the halls. Fortunately, a few combos and fire blasts were able to wipe them out completely. From here, it seemed like our escape was just a simple walk back through the tunnel.
Polite to leave without saying goodbye.
Bastard!
This child of yours is quite the hero, dear Scarlet. Did you know he's being crowned arena champion? You would have been so proud of him. It must run in the family. That and getting locked up in one of my charming little cells.
You disgusting freak. Let him go. He doesn't know anything.
Oh, I think you'll find he knows a great deal. You see, the arena seal I gave him has been showing me his every movement. It has been most entertaining. Digging up graves, saving old fools, meeting with that crazy sister of his.
Teresa?
Yes, it appears your darling little daughter is alive too. She's told him all about the sword, and that wretched bloodline of yours. And now, my sweet, you're going to tell me where the key is.
The next thing I know, the scene cuts to my hero in prison. He's completely stripped of his belongings. His head and face are buzzed clean. There's a prison guard on the other side of the bars. He's taunting me, telling me that I'll never escape, my will doesn't work in here, and that the other guards have a surprise for me. As he walks away, the inmate beside me, Tibbs, gives me a heads up. Today is the warden's birthday. Every year on this day, the guards take out all of the prisoners and bring them to the yard. From there, they make the inmates race each other. The winner gets a special trip to the warden's office. What happens in there, though, is unknown, although that could be my ticket out of here. Shortly after our conversation ends, the guard returns and starts letting us out of our cells. Honestly, this race was pretty easy to win. Holding down the sprint button, I quickly pulled ahead of my competition. At first, I wasn't quite sure on where to go. However, I saw that the guards would point me in the direction of the course. Running along the ramparts, doing a full lap around the prison, I soon ended up at the finish line. The warden's award, or gift to the winner, is that they get to listen in on a poetry reading. While the warden's back is turned, the player can roam around his office in search of the key. There are 3 diaries on a nearby table. One of those diaries holds the key. However, they're all locked via some code. Said code is on the other side of the room. You have to sneak your way over, ensuring that the warden's focus isn't broken. At the same time, you also have to make sure that you don't run out of time. Honestly though, this segment is long enough, and it's pretty easy to sneak past the boss. The issue though is you only get to try one of the 3 diaries, and for my first attempt, I did not guess right.
It's painfully obvious you have no interest in the arts. My lyrical opus is wasted on your Philistine ears. Back to the cell with you.
Welcome to your temporary home, the torture chamber. We're gonna have some fun with you. Yeah, we're gonna enjoy this.
The darkness of the cell consumed the hero's mind. And it consumed his life too. Another year would pass by in this prison. Another year of torture. The ancient, noble blood in his veins, the power of the guild, none of it meant a thing inside these walls. And all this time, Jack of Blades was free to roam Albion. The hero would not be beaten. He would be free.
It's a special day today. You'll find out soon enough. Let's bung him in the holding cells with the others.
Another year passes, and it's yet again the warden's birthday. The conversation with the guard and Tibbs comes back around. The inmates are brought to the yard, and we go through another race. Pulling past the competition and emerging victorious, I'm brought back to the warden's office. Yet another chance at freedom. Sneaking over to the board and learning the code, this time I tried the diary on the far right. Relieved, it ended up being the correct one. The warden, realizing that I'm not paying attention, kicks me out and sends me off for torture. Luckily though, the guard informs me that the key is missing, and I'll just be returning to my cell. As he leaves, I unlock the gate and am now a free man. Well, sort of. I still have to figure out my complete escape. First things first, I unlock the other cells in the holding area. Several inmates stepped out and pledged to follow me. Together, the group of us stormed the courtyard. At first, I wasn't quite sure where to go or what to do. Trying my luck against one of the guards, of course, stick would never beat sword. So, I followed the quest arrow and ran on into the torture chamber. Here, I was once again reunited with my mother. Trying to free her, she quickly stopped me. She said our efforts would be in vain if I didn't get my gear back. Heading back out into the courtyard, I wandered around for a bit, watching my fellow inmates get slaughtered. I couldn't let their sacrifices be for nothing, so I had to act quickly. Running in and out of the various zones, I eventually wandered into the prison barracks. Here, I managed to recover all of my gear. Now is when I'd say the odds were back to even. Bringing the fight back to the guards, I slashed my way through their ranks, leaving no survivors. Once again, releasing my mother from the torture chamber, we backtracked through the underground passage. This time, I could see all of the enemies on the minimap, and oh boy were there a lot. I guess her old age and lack of weapons left Scarlet Rose helpless, as she did nothing to aid me. Fortunately, I had access to my willpowers again, so the crowd control was super handy. Fighting my way through the patrols, we soon landed back out into the cliffside path. Up until this point, the prison guards didn't really care much for Scarlet Robe. However, the undead were a different story. Their spawn rates were heavily increased, and they were good at blocking off our path. Often, this meant that my mother and I would get separated. As I fought my way back to her, the undead would let off a couple of swings and lower her health. However, it didn't last very long. As soon as we crossed over into the underground tunnel, things were back to business as usual. There were more prison guards, and even though that meant challenging fights, it also meant that my mother would be safe. Finally, the two of us made it back into the underground chamber. We were almost home free. I could practically see the light at the end of the tunnel. However, as soon as we stepped foot in the circle, the trap had officially been sprung. A Kraken-like monster emerged from the body of water. Its 4 massive tentacles writhed in the air. Soon, one came crashing down, and it was now time for the boss fight. The Kraken has 4 phases to it. The first involves the player defeating its 4 tentacles. Every time a tentacle came crashing down, it would linger for a few moments. This allowed for me to get a hit in. While this didn't affect its overall health, it did contribute towards the fight's progression. 4 hits made said tentacle retreat back to the waters below. After all 4 were dealt with, the Kraken finally showed its face. In terms of attacks, it mainly fired off this green beam of light. It was fairly easy to dodge, and even if it landed, it didn't really lower my health by that much. During this time was when I could fire off my arrows and really do some damage. When its health got to half, stage 3 of the fight had begun. This essentially had me repeating the process of taking out each tentacle. During this time, Scarlet Robe did absolutely nothing. I suppose, what could she even do though? No weapons and potentially no willpowers. She's old, rusty, and has been out of the fight for a long time. She didn't do herself much favor by just standing around and taking the hits, but as long as she didn't die, what did I care? Eventually, I got to stage 4 of the fight, fired off my last few arrows, and defeated the Kraken. This lifted the force field that barred the exit, and at last, my mother and I were free to leave this place. Collecting the mass amounts of XP left behind, we soon exited the chamber and freed ourselves from Bargate prison.
Revenge burned like a sun within the hero, and his destiny was clear. Jack had cast a shadow over the whole of his life. He had been the architect of his sister's blind suffering and of his mother's imprisonment. And soon his power would be absolute.
Well, looks like you didn't turn out too badly after all. You did pretty well back there, but there's still so much to do. Jack is getting closer to the sword. I can feel it. He needs a key to unlock the sword from its hiding place, and now he knows where it is. The key is in Hook Coast, hidden in the ruins of an old abbey. You have to get to it first. We have one advantage. He doesn't know the key will only make itself known to one of our bloodline. That's why we have to find your sister. As long as she's out there, Jack could use her. You should go to Darkwood and investigate the portal. There must be some way of activating it. It's the only way to get to Hook Coast. But first, I have a gift for you. There's power in your blood that hasn't been tapped yet. Feels good, doesn't it? From now on, I will be able to talk to you through your guild seal. Now go. I will try to find Teresa.
We're calling to the guild. There's so much to do, yet so little time. For starters, I had completely maxed out my character's health, increased his speed, brought him flame to level 3, and upgraded some other spells like lightning and heal life. Then I traveled to Oakvale and purchased all new armor, as well as consumables. This included an obsidian greatsword and a set of plate gear. My character was looking beastly and ready for just about anything. Due to his strength and speed progressions, he was able to wield the greatsword with very little difficulty. Augmenting the blade with silver and flame augmentations really beefed things up, and from there, I was good to go. Traveling to the barrow fields and crossing through to Darkwood Weir, I got a taste of my character's brand new power. Balverines that once took plenty of focus to battle now fell with a few swings of my sword. Hobbs died with one hit, and their brutish kin fell rather quickly. Traveling to the ancient Cullis Gate, my mother began speaking to me. In order to activate the Cullis Gate, I need to defeat enough undead. Said Cullis Gate will lead me to Hook Coast, the place where Jack of Blades is likely to be. Entering the circle, several chieftain undead and undead generals spawned in. While they weren't really problems before, they certainly weren't problems now. Inflame and my greatsword were able to do the trick pretty well. A couple of hits with both, and the undead dropped like flies. Soon, the Cullis Gate was activated, and my character rushed on through. Surprisingly, Hook Coast was a relatively civil little town. There were shops, taverns, guards, and citizens. None of them really had a care for the outside world. They were more so focused on the current state of Hook Coast. Legging it to the other end of the village, I laid eyes on an all too familiar sight. One of Jack's force fields was blocking me from going any further.
That magical barrier wasn't there before. It explains what I just found in the guild. Meet me in Maze's quarters. I found a book that may help.
Recalling to the guild, I heard something that reminded me of darker times. It was history most definitely repeating itself.
Are you in your way? Something isn't right here. What? No!
Rushing through the guild's halls, I zoomed across the courtyard and into Maze's room.
The book! Don't forget the book!
Somehow, Jack's minions were able to get inside the guild and capture my mother. It doesn't really make any sense, but regardless, my mother was once again taken from me. Looking around, I found the book, Arban's Thaumaturgica, resting on one of the side tables. Picking it up, the game notifies me that its language is indecipherable, at least to me. There's a chance, though, that the guildmaster might be able to read it.
This is terrible. Jack has captured your mother again. I spoke to her briefly today. She told me about the sword and the existence of a key to unlock it. Jack can never be allowed to succeed. You must stop him getting the key from Hook Coast. There is a quest card for you, but if you choose to take it, you will forsake your other tasks. This is too important. Good. Now quickly, give me the Thaumaturgica. When you approach the barrier to Hook Coast Abbey, I shall contact you on your guild seal. If I read from the correct passage, it should disable the barrier. Now go.
I know endgame territory when I see it. Having the guildmaster tell me that all other quests will become null and void was certainly a strong hint. Accepting the quest card means that my full focus should be on the main quest. It always was, but now it feels even more real. As I return to Hook Coast, I see a group of citizens fleeing for their lives. Behind them is some NPC I've never seen before. These entities are called Screamers, and while they look threatening, they're actually quite easy foes. If you have some sort of damaging augmentation, they can be beaten in 1 or 2 swings. Once again, running across town, I arrived at Jack's force field. With the help of the guildmaster, I was able to bring it down.
You're alive. Yes, I was worried when you disappeared. Your sister. I know. I had to tie her up. Jack is controlling her somehow. That's why I'm here. I'm trying to stop him.
He's lying. He's the one working for Jack.
No, she's trying to confuse you. She's...
There is really no time for this, old wizard. Finish the ritual, Maze. I'd like my key now.
It's almost over, and it will be easier with the boy here.
So, you escaped my little cage. I'm surprised it took you so long. I trust you didn't lose too much of that precious blood of yours getting out. The Sentinel Key. You've hidden from me far too long. Take our 2 blood bags to the chamber. I shall be there soon.
Surprised? You shouldn't be. Only an idiot would oppose Jack. You can't win, boy. The world belongs to Jack now.
So, there it is, the twist of the game. Maze, the wizard who saved me from the fires of Oakvale, has actually been working for Jack all along. When you think of the game's events too, it makes sense. Maze was conveniently at Oakvale when it was attacked. He wanted me to find the archaeologist, a man well versed in Albion's focus sites. The minions were able to capture my mother right out of his quarters, and now he's caught and trapped my sister. Now it's time to battle my old mentor. I actually found the Maze fight to be quite challenging. It took me some time to learn the mechanics. He had 2 different fighting styles. The first was Will. With this one, he would cast powers like lightning and inflame. My first instinct is to usually charge in with my sword and then figure things out. This was easily countered by Maze's Inflame though, and a couple of times it brought me to the brink of death. His second fighting style involved melee attacks. Similar to my hero training all those years ago, I mainly broke through his guard with flourish attacks. Every couple of hits, Maze would teleport to a different area in Hook Coast. I personally didn't mind it though, as it gave me time to reset and rethink possible strategies. Finally, after a lengthy match and plenty of potions, Maze's health was brought down to 0. My old mentor had been defeated.
I was wrong. Maybe you are strong enough to defeat Jack. You haven't got much time. He's using the key to activate the focus sites all over Albion. Then the sword will be his, and it'll be too late. They'll be trying to stop him. None of them can. Oh. You want to know why I did it, don't you? I suppose I'm just an old coward boy. We don't all embrace death easily. For some of us, the only quest, is to escape death. Whatever the cost. And it looks like I failed.
With that encounter at an end, the guildmaster reached out. He needed me to come back to the guild as soon as possible.
You're back? Things are far worse than I'd feared. Maze's betrayal surprised us all, but we have larger problems. Jack is trying to activate the ancient focus sites across Albion. You must stop him at all costs. I will explain more over your guild seal. Now, step through the Cullis Gate.
The problems only continued to add on. It was officially do or die for the guild. The goal was to stop Jack at any cost.
Jack has to be stopped. He's activating those rocks. Always thought they were damn ugly things. I don't want to die for them either. I guess we'll just have to kill them first. Come on, follow the path and turn right.
This is when the quest, Try to Stop Jack of Blades, officially begins. Briar Rose is leading the defense here. For this stretch of road, we were facing off against undead and minions. What's nice though is that for every enemy, there would be a guild member or town guard to help out. I have to say, I truly loved that extra detail. Not only did it save time and consumables, but it really felt like an all-hands-on-deck situation. I find with other titles, the player is often left running through the end-of-game missions on their own. It's the end of the world. If the player fails, then everyone else dies, or worse. And all the surrounding NPCs do what? Wish you well on your journey? It's nice to see everyone pulling their weight in Albion, as it really does feel like a team effort. Upon getting close to the quest icon, it seems like Briar Rose and I were too late.
So Maze couldn't hold you. He wouldn't have seen the end of the day anyway. He had outlived his usefulness. You're too late here. This site is active. But don't worry, I haven't finished with you yet.
Looks like he's done whatever he was doing, but the portal is still open. Follow him through. I'll stay here and teach these animals who Briar Rose is.
The next area I'm brought to is Orchard Farm. Here it's more of the same. Minions, undead, and now screamers. Fortunately, I still have plenty of help from the guild and the town guard. Knowing that there's going to be some sort of final fight between Jack and I really had to think selfishly here. I didn't have a plethora of consumables on me. While the XP and gold is nice, I figured there wouldn't be a chance to use it before the final fight. As a side note, I was wrong on that call. Anyways, I tried to keep things moving as best as I could, not spending too much time on one given fight.
I thought you weren't going to make it. You'll never catch up with me. How do you like the new world? This is just a taste of what's to come, my boy. Just 2 more to go now.
Jumping through the next portal, I was brought to Hob Cave. Hacking and slashing my way through enemy forces, I soon ran into a familiar face. Thunder was also making his way to the focus site. He's made it pretty far, but he tells me he's running out of gas. As one last push, he offers to fight by my side. Admittedly, he didn't do a whole lot though. He mostly stayed in the back and swung his weapon when the fighting was over. Then, in the final zone, he just waited at the top of the stairs for the cutscene to begin.
Only one left. You aren't making this much of a challenge. And now your flesh and blood is waiting for me.
Damn him. We're too late. He must be at Headsman's Hill. That's where everyone else was heading. You better go after him. I'm exhausted. I need to find somewhere to rest.
Arriving at Bowerstone Jail, I continued with the fight. To be honest though, at this point, my will to keep battling the minions was dropping quickly. Every health potion used meant I'd have one less in my fight with Jack. At this point, running past the rest of the enemies felt justified. They were duking it out with my guildmates anyways, so they were just as preoccupied. At Windmill Hill, I tried to leave my mark, getting a few licks in on the enemies and grabbing a couple of XP orbs. However, before long, I was gunning it past the remaining foes. Making it into Gibbet Woods, I arrived at the fourth and final focus site.
Sweet Scarlet, I hope there is still some blood left in those hard old veins. But look, here comes a fresh supply. Are you ready to see the guild burn, hero?
Stop him!
Arriving at the guild hall, it would seem that this is where the Sword of Aeons is being held. Before heading into the Chamber of Fate, I quickly used up the rest of my XP and checked over my gear. This was it, the final match, the battle that would determine the fate of Albion.
There's nothing we could do. He has power like none I've ever seen. And he has your mother and sister too. If either of them dies, Avo help us all. Stop him, lad. For all our sakes, stop him.
Running into the guild caves, I approached the Chamber of Fate and went on in.
What a touching family reunion. The mother, the son, the daughter, and the sword. There's only one thing missing. It's your blood next. Then I will make this world burn.
As Jack murders my mother and holds Teresa captive, anger fills my body. Jack's been controlling my family's fate for far too long. It's time to put an end to his reign of terror. This is where the fight with Jack officially begins. The first phase has me going up against several of his minions. Jack himself is protected by a force field, so really all I can do is defeat his lackeys. There are around half a dozen minions to go through, and while the fight wasn't that challenging, it was certainly lengthy. Once they were all defeated though, it was on to phase 2. Jack let down his barrier and came at me with the Sword of Aeons. Blocking his attacks seemed to do me no good, as any contact made sent my character flying back. The best ways for me to get a hit in were either through flourish attacks or willpowers. At certain intervals throughout the fight, Jack would let off some ranged attacks. They weren't difficult to dodge, but if they landed, they'd take off chunks of my HP. Our dance continued for some time, until finally, I discovered my most efficient attack yet. Taking up my bow and activating multi-arrow, I could fire off 3 shots at once. At most, Jack could block 1. What's more, he wasn't exactly the fastest of opponents, so creating that distance was rather easy. As soon as he got down to half health, the battle switched over to phase 3. Jack was now hovering above the center of the stage. It seemed like ranged attacks were the most effective way to hit him. He wasn't blocking any of my arrows, which was good, but his attacks were just as effective. He fired off a magical arrow of his own, and he cast a spell that let off multiple orbs, covering a wide area of the arena. What's more, he had one attack that was incredibly powerful. It dealt mass amounts of damage over a short period of time, and it brought my health down to less than half. At this point too, I had completely run out of health potions. So the best I could do was to stay on top of my meat and apple pie consumption. As Jack's health got dangerously low, he summoned in more minions. Worried about how I was going to handle it, it ended up working out pretty well. By strafing around the map and completely ignoring them, they weren't able to catch up to me, and they rarely landed any hits. Soon, I let off my last arrow at Jack, and the old hero was officially defeated.
And now comes the choice I spoke of so long ago. Strike me down now with the sword of Aeons, and you will become as powerful as Jack dreamt of being. Cast it into the vortex, and its darkness will be gone forever. So what will you do, little brother?
The Sword of Aeons is now officially in my possession. It's a very powerful weapon. It's far greater than my completely decked out greatsword. With it, I could vanquish any foe in Albion, and nothing could stop me. However, the choice has never been clearer. I don't want this almighty blade. Teresa is the only family that I have left in this world. We had just lost our mother, and I don't intend on losing her. Plus, I kinda like how my character looks wielding the obsidian greatsword. With very little doubt or hesitation, I approached the vortex and cast the blade into the void.
They're both where they belong now, lost forever. It's time I found where I belong. I know it isn't here.
The hero had triumphed over Jack of Blades and forsaken the dark power of the sword. When he stepped outside into daylight, the crowds cheered his name. He walked among them as a legend. As the months passed, the guild and its people would recover. Walls would be rebuilt and order restored. For Teresa, it would not be so easy. She retreated to distant lands, where a lifetime of wounds might be allowed to heal. A whole year passed. With Jack gone, Albion returned to something approaching peace. And for once, the greatest of all heroes was able to rest.
This is where the story of Fable Anniversary closes out, and the Lost Chapters expansion begins. Perhaps someday I'll venture into the extra content and tell that story. For now though, my journey through Albion comes to an end. As I stated in the beginning of this series, I had only ever played Fable 2 and 3. I've heard tales and stories of Fable 1, but never got to experience it for myself. Obviously, if I played through the original on the earliest Xbox, my outlook would probably be quite different. However, Fable Anniversary on Steam was excellent. I loved every step of the story, gameplay, and world of Albion. I have a huge soft spot for this franchise, and very little can turn me away from it. When you play a game as old as this, a title that came out in 2004, you can't really critique all that much. You can more so just see how far along this series has come, and you can take a look at the changes they've made in the later installments. Obviously though, the graphics of Fable Anniversary rival those of Fable 2 and 3. It never felt like I was playing a game that was well over 20 years old, and I suppose that's because I wasn't. Anniversary came out in 2014, and Lionhead had plenty of time to tweak its performance. While I never played the original, it seems like they did a decent job at keeping the base game while improving upon the smaller things. I have a bit of a sore spot with Fable's combat and movement. However, Anniversary felt the cleanest of all of the Fable games. It's been a while since I played 3, but I imagine the two are roughly neck and neck with one another. The combat always felt a little slow and stiff, especially in Fable 2, but Anniversary was super smooth and everything flowed well. The story of Fable 1 was really good. You start out as a young child and slowly get introduced to the world of Albion. Everywhere you turn, there are good deeds and bad choices. It's up to you to navigate right from wrong. Sometimes the easiest path isn't always the best one, but what's great is that that decision is completely up to you. After your character goes through immense heartbreak, witnessing the loss of their family, you're rescued and brought to the Guild of Heroes. Using that fear and anger, the hero of Oakvale is molded into a warrior, training every day, sharpening their mind and body. Eventually, it's time to get back out into the world. Again, your actions are completely dictated by you. While I didn't play through any of the side quests, I always kept an eye on them. I saw their duality and how some were to save this group, faction, or town, while their counterparts were to massacre them. It shows that the Guild of Heroes isn't there to teach their students right from wrong. They're there to hone their abilities and essentially turn them into mercenaries, which is completely fine. At first, I was confused at how the Guild of Heroes could set you up to destroy an entire village, but then I realized that they're adventurers, go-doers, and helpers of Albion. Everyone needs help, but it's not up to the guild to decide who deserves the aid and who doesn't. After exploring the area a bit and expanding your horizons, your character's world gets flipped on its head. Teresa is still alive. However, she's a completely different person. That sweet, innocent girl from Oakvale has been morphed into something else entirely, a mutilated killing machine of Osiris. Her attitude towards her younger sibling has completely changed. There are no warm welcomes or wholesome family reunions. There are just cold hellos and distant farewells. It's all business and no love. The same could be said for Scarlet Robe. While that's what I personally wanted to see, I can appreciate the game's choice in not going down that pathway. The lack of familiarity and homecoming between the characters left me wanting more. It made me think of the endgame possibilities. What will my family do once it's all over? Will we return to Oakvale, travel to distant lands, or help the world of Albion together? So many thoughts and ideas raced through my mind, just to have them all ripped away. Jack slaughters my mother, and Teresa steps away to treat her wounds. While to some, this may have not been the desired outcome. To me, though, it was excellent. It helped to further demonstrate the pain and suffering my character had gone through. It showed me that there really was no going back. Things will never be like how they were before. So much has happened, and the damage has been done. The twist with Maze was made rather obvious. As soon as the minions kidnapped Scarlet Robe from his quarters, I knew something was fishy. Granted, this was the quest right before the twist was made official, so I suppose Lionhead just tried to make that one obvious anyways. I personally didn't feel all that attached or connected to Maze. If anything, I felt a stronger connection to the Guildmaster. So honestly, our fight meant very little to me, and his death scene wasn't very impactful. While I understand Whisper's character was put in an interesting spot, it would have been nice to have her in the Orchard Farm focus site run. Maybe the players who let her live could have been rewarded with her companionship during that time. Not that she would have done much to change the outcome, but similar to how Briar Rose and Thunder follow the player, that would have been nice to see from her. Then lastly, you have Jack of Blades. I found Jack's villain reveal to be quite interesting. You're introduced to him at the arena. Right off the bat, he seems suspect as he wants you and Whisper to kill each other. Then, he tells you that your mother is still alive. Immediately after, Teresa reveals that Jack's the one who cut out her eyes and kidnapped Scarlet Robe. After that, the player essentially faces off against Jack and his minions for the rest of the game. Essentially, to me, Jack's character felt like he was quickly introduced, and then his role in the plot was a quick burn. It didn't feel like there was much build-up or that extensive of an introduction to Jack's character. And that's fine. The opposite would have been an elongated intro with a slow burn, which is arguably less appealing. But in my eyes, the key to the focus sites themselves, and the Sword of Aeons felt kind of rushed. More so, the focus sites themselves were, okay, we get it, you're doing this 3 more times sort of scenarios. Maybe instead of fighting your way through those areas just to see Jack teleport away from the focus sites, It could have been something similar to the arena. It's an easy path to the focus site, but there, you, your guildmates, and the town guard fight off waves of minions, undead, and any other NPCs that Jack controls. This way, more time is spent at the sites, and the fighting feels more purposeful. To me, it would have been nicer to have those plot points slowly digested, as opposed to knocked out one by one rather quickly. Again though, that's just my opinion, and at the end of the day, the game has been out for well over 20 years, so there's not much point in critiquing it. Overall, I thoroughly enjoyed my experience through Fable Anniversary, and am looking forward to the Lost Chapters and the next 2 installments. And hey, when Fable 4 comes out, I'd be more than willing to play that. I'd love to know your thoughts on Fable 1 down below. Members, thank you so much for your support. If you enjoyed the video, consider liking and subscribing for more content like this. Until next time, keep on adventuring.